Exposed, after 2 years of betrayal, she discovered an amazing strength to reclaim her life. Sarah stood in the kitchen, her heart racing as if it might leap out of her chest. The sun streamed through the narrow window, illuminating the dust motes dancing in the air, and yet it did little to brighten her spirit. The whispers of Maplewood wrapped around her like a suffocating blanket, every glance and half-finished sentence betraying pity and judgment. She could picture them, neighbors clucking their tongues, pretending to care while relishing the gossip that swirled around her like the summer heat. Her gaze flickered to the children playing in the yard. Their laughter, once a melody that fueled her spirit, now felt haunting. How many more smiles could she fake? Her savings, her dreams had evaporated beneath Mike's reckless decisions, leaving behind a suffocating weight of disappointment. Just when she thought things couldn't get worse, she found Mike's secret plan to leave them all behind in search of his own escape, his hollow promises twisting her gut like a knife. Tears sprang to her eyes. She had been a devoted wife and a mother, silently managing the chaos while reinvigorating hope in their children's lives. But now, the light flickering in their eyes had dimmed. With every gamble, every loss, Mike had chipped away at her dreams, and the whispers had become unbearable. Clutching the kitchen counter, Sarah felt a stirring deep within her. She was more than just a mother or a wife. She was a woman with her own dreams, buried but not forgotten. The idea of independence was both terrifying and exhilarating. She began to envision a life beyond this brittle facade and enrolled in business classes at the community college. Each lecture opened her eyes and exposed the stark realities of the world beyond Maplewood. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now, let's continue. Yet, as her plans started to take shape, life hurled obstacles at her. She felt the isolation creeping in, punctuated by the echoes of doubt that lingered in her mind. How could she push through when her own husband seemed determined to drag her back into the shadows of despair? In a moment of sheer desperation, she confronted Mike, demanding respect, accountability, the truth. The confrontation ignited emotions that had long lived in silence. Sarah stood her ground, heart pounding, as she reclaimed her voice. And in that raw, vulnerable exchange, something shifted. A community that had witnessed her struggles began to emerge from the shadows. Neighbors who once whispered in judgment now rallied around her with unexpected kindness. Here she was, shrouded in turmoil, yet feeling the warmth of solidarity wrap around her like a comforting embrace. Hope flickered anew as she stood at a crossroads, stronger yet uncertain, aching for something more than the confines of a broken dream. Would she find the strength to rise? Would the community that once turned a blind eye walk beside her as she sought her own American dream? The air crackled with anticipation, and Sarah felt the weight of her choices echoing in the involuntary silence. The next morning greeted Sarah with a reluctant sun. Her heart still thumped with the echoes of last night's confrontation. It felt like half-formed dreams were clashing with reality. She caught sight of her children at breakfast, giggling as they tossed cereal at each other. For a moment, she considered joining their playful antics, but a pang of sadness tugged at her. Could she really protect their joy when her own life felt so dark? Determined, she shook off the weight and grabbed her notebook. Inspiration struck like a lightning bolt. Today, she would take the first step toward a new beginning, a small but vital leap of faith. With each stroke of her pen, she drafted a plan for a small home-based business. Maybe she could sell handcrafted items online. Maybe it would be enough to rekindle a spark in her life. After she put the children on the bus, Sarah walked to the community college. The crisp air filled her lungs, rushing through her like the promise of change. As she entered the classroom that day, a sense of excitement coursed through her veins. She was not just a victim of circumstance anymore, she was reclaiming her narrative. Each lesson ignited a fire in her belly, pushing her further into a world of possibility. Later that week, she found herself discussing her ideas with classmates. They leaned in, genuinely interested. It felt foreign yet thrilling to share her thoughts. "I want to create a line of custom jewelry," she said, her voice steady despite the nerves. "Something that speaks to people, makes them feel special." Sarah could see their enthusiasm reflected in their encouraging smiles, and for the first time in so long, she felt the warmth of hope blossoming within her chest. As the days turned into weeks, Sarah's routine transformed into one filled with purpose. She spent late nights crafting beautiful pieces, pouring her heart into every bead and clasp. While the kids slept, she found solace in the rhythm of creation, her mind dancing with plans for the future. Meanwhile, the whispers in Maplewood began to change direction. Neighbors who had once offered pity now complimented her on social media when she shared her progress. Encouragement flooded in from unexpected places. Sarah could sense a collective spirit of support rising within the community. It was not just her journey anymore. They were all along for the ride. But the shadow of Mike loomed large. He still did not believe in her dreams. One night, as she worked late, he returned home with eyes hollow and a temper flaring. "You think you can just go on with your little crafts while we barely scrape by?" He spat. The words struck her like a thunderbolt. The warmth she felt from the community momentarily faltered as doubt seeped back in. Tension thickened the air between them. In that moment, Sarah felt an internal battle waging. Should she continue to fight for her dreams despite his derision, or should she allow his negativity to wash over her? A tear slipped down her cheek. Fighting back, she straightened her back and said, "I'm building something for us, Mike. For you and the kids. You can stay or go, but I want to dim my light." For all of Sarah's newfound strength, the battle between her emerging independence and Mike's negativity was far from over. How long could she hold on to her dreams with such turbulence surrounding her? The next morning, a message from a local boutique arrived in her inbox, an opportunity to showcase her jewelry. A chance to step into the world she had been yearning for. But what if Mike's anger erupted again? Would she be ready to confront him and demand the support she deserved? With anticipation and anxiety intertwining, Sarah prepared herself for whatever lay ahead. Would she finally take that monumental step forward, or would she be pulled back into the shadows once more? As Sarah sat at her kitchen table, staring at the glowing screen of her phone, her heart raced with a mix of excitement and dread. The message from the boutique felt like a lifeline thrown into turbulent waters. "This could be it," she whispered to herself. But as she clutched the phone, a tightness in her chest reminded her of the storm brewing just under the surface with Mike. The kids ran down the hall, their laughter filling the house, a stark contrast to the tension lurking in the corners. By midday, she could ignore it no longer. She had to face Mike and share the news. When he got home, she found him slumped on the couch, earbuds in, away from the world. Swallowing her nerves, she approached him. "Mike," she said softly. He pulled the earbuds out, looking up at her with tired eyes. "What now?" Her pulse quickened. "I got a message from a boutique. They want to showcase my jewelry." The words tumbled out, her voice a fragile blend of hope and uncertainty. For a moment, the air between them stood still. She watched as his brow furrowed, processing the news. Then he scoffed, "Do you really think this little hobby of yours is going to solve our problems? We need money, not trinkets." The familiar sting of his words echoed in her mind. "It's not just a hobby, Mike. It's a start. It's something I'm passionate about, and it could lead to more." As she spoke, a newfound fierceness ignited within her. It wasn't just about the jewelry, it was about her reclaiming a piece of her identity. He rolled his eyes, leaning back into the couch, dismissive as always. "Fine. Go ahead and play dress up. But this doesn't change the fact that we're barely making ends meet." Just like that, her excitement crumbled under his weight. The tears threatened again, but she bit her lip, refusing to let them fall. She took a breath, steadied herself, and fought every urge to retreat to a corner of her mind. "I'm not asking you for permission. I'm telling you this is happening," she replied, each word more resolute than the last. Mike's silence was deafening. He stared blankly at her, as if he couldn't comprehend the defiance radiating from her. Sarah turned away, feeling the heat of anger and sadness swirl within her. She walked out to the back porch, the sunset washing over the yard in warm hues. She closed her eyes and inhaled deeply, trying to collect herself. Thoughts of her children drifted back into focus. They were her motivation, her reason to break free from the chains holding her down. And she wouldn't let Mike's negativity snuff out the hope she had nurtured. That evening, after the kids went to bed, Sarah gathered materials and worked late into the night. The beads glimmered under the soft light, whispering promises of a brighter future. Each piece she created was more than jewelry, it was a declaration of her spirit. She knew this was just the beginning. The boutique showcasing her work loomed ahead like a beacon, beckoning her toward possibility. But along with hope, uncertainty weighed heavily on her mind. Tomorrow, she would need to reach out to the boutique with her designs. Would Mike's anger escalate? Would he understand that she was trying to build a life they could all be proud of? With her heart pounding in rhythm with the potential ahead, Sarah smiled for the first time all evening. She realized that even as shadows loomed, she had begun to step into the light. The thought invigorated her. But a lingering question pricked at her mind as she placed the final piece down. What if, in her pursuit of passion, they all fell apart? Tomorrow would hold the answers. The true test of her resolve was just around the corner. The morning light crept slowly through the kitchen window, casting soft rays over the piles of beads waiting for Sarah's creative touch. She brewed a fresh pot of coffee, the rich aroma filling the air with warmth and possibility. Last night had been pivotal. She felt as if she had, at last, ignited a spark within herself that had long flickered in the dark. As she sipped her coffee, her gaze drifted out onto the yard where her children were playing. Their giggles floated through the open window, harmonizing beautifully with her new resolve. Today was the day she reached out to the boutique. She could almost feel the tension of uncertainty easing, replaced by an exhilarating rush of hope. But that elation turned quickly as Mike walked into the room, his expression thunderous. "Are you seriously just going to sit here while the bills pile up?" he grumbled, leaning against the counter with his arms crossed. Sarah's stomach twisted. "I'm about to reach out to the boutique, Mike. This could help." "Help? Or is this just some kind of escape for you?" His voice dripped with sarcasm, and her heart sank. "Why does it have to be that way?" she countered, her voice trembling slightly as determination clashed with fear. "Can't you at least try to see this from my perspective?" "Perspective?" He stepped closer, and she could see the anger, the frustration that had festered for years. "Your perspective is a fairy tale. You think a handful of necklaces is going to make everything better?" Each word from him felt like a nail in the coffin of her dreams. Her pulse raced, the surge of emotion pushing her to respond. "It's not just about the jewelry. It's about believing in something again, believing in me." For a moment, Mike seemed taken aback, the corner of his mouth twitching in what could have been a smile or a grimace. She couldn't tell. Her heart pounded, her eyes pleading for him to understand. But his focus shifted as he shook his head. "You really think you can just dive in and we'll be fine? It doesn't work like that, Sarah." The hurtful shadows of doubt began creeping back in, spreading like dark clouds before a storm. She took a deep breath, her hands shaking. "I never said it would be easy. But we can't keep living like this. I need to try." Silence settled between them, heavy and oppressive. She could see the thoughts colliding in his head, a battle of uncertainty and anger playing out. Her heart ached, each beat drummed the need for change deeper into her resolve. Suddenly, Mike turned abruptly and left the room. She stood there, breathless, clenching her coffee cup as if it were a lifeline. Just then, her phone buzzed on the table, jolting her from the silence. Heart racing, she snatched it up. The boutique had replied. With trembling fingers, she opened the message. It was a simple affirmation. They loved her designs and wanted to set up a meeting. A wave of hope surged through her veins. Was this what all her hard work was for? But alongside the thrill came thoughts of Mike's anger. What would he say if he knew she had moved forward without his blessing, if he knew how much she wanted this? As she prepared to respond to the boutique, her heart tugged at the thought of the man she loved. Would he ever see her worth? Would he come around, or was this the beginning of a bigger rift between them? Sarah's finger hovered over the screen, a mix of excitement and fear intertwining. The decision was not just about the opportunity at hand, but about standing firm in her own truth. Would she let his doubts dim her light? A sense of determination surged through her. She pressed send, her heart pounding. But just as the email went out, the phone buzzed again, a message from a number she didn't recognize. Worry and curiosity collided within her. What could this possibly mean? All she knew was that her journey was just beginning, and the answers she sought seemed to lie just beyond the horizon. The question now remained, was she ready for whatever came next? The moment Sarah saw the unfamiliar number flash on her screen, her heart raced anew. She hesitated, torn between wanting to read the message and the dread that preceded it. Gulping down her fear, she opened it. It was brief. "Hey Sarah, it's Jenny. Can we talk? I have something important to share." Jenny. Sarah's pulse quickened at the thought of her old friend from years ago. They had drifted apart after life took them in different directions, but Jenny had always known how to lift Sarah's spirits, a beacon of positivity even in tough times. But what could she want? A part of her squeezed with uncertainty as another part tugged with curiosity. With shaky hands, Sarah typed back, asking when and where. Minutes felt like hours before Jenny replied. "How about the park? In about an hour?" She glanced out the window, her kids still playing, blissfully unaware of the storm brewing in their mother's heart. Excitement pierced through the weight of doubt as Sarah thought of the familiar laughter they once shared. Still cautious, she took a deep breath, hoping Jenny would bring something uplifting. After quickly cleaning the kitchen, she realized she'd need a moment to gather herself before facing Jenny. The confrontation with Mike floated back in her mind, a somber reminder of what she was up against. Would Jenny be able to soothe her soul, or would she just dredge up old wounds? Driving to the park, uncertainty wrapped itself around her like a thick fog. The trees stood tall, gently swaying in the breeze, as if whispering words of solace. She pulled into the parking lot, her heart racing again as she spotted Jenny leaning against a wooden post, her hair catching the sunlight like spun gold. As they met, the warmth of Jenny's smile enveloped Sarah, calming her tumultuous thoughts. They embraced, and that single gesture pulled Sarah back to happier times. "It's so good to see you, Sarah," Jenny beamed, her voice bright and welcoming. "You too." "It's been way too long," Sarah replied, the tension in her shoulders easing. They sat on a weathered bench overlooking a small pond, the sound of children laughing nearby and ducks quacking providing a comforting backdrop. The familiar sense of cut grass and blooming flowers filled the air, anchoring Sarah in the moment. "Everything okay?" Jenny's gaze reflected true concern. "You've seemed a little off lately. You can tell me anything." Sarah hesitated, considering how to frame her troubles. The weight of her relationship issues pulled at her heart. She wanted to share, to unburden, but fear held her back. Instead, she started with the boutique. "I got a message this morning about my jewelry designs. They're interested." "Really? That's amazing." Jenny's eyes sparkled with delight. "When is your meeting?" "A little later this week. But my husband doesn't believe in me. He thinks it's a waste of time." The words tumbled out, pain lacing her voice. Jenny nodded, understanding etched into her features. "That sounds rough. I get it." She leaned closer. "But what I want to share, something important, is that I went through something similar. It took me a long time to realize that I needed to prioritize myself, my dreams." Questions bubbled within Sarah as she marveled at her friend's words, as if a door had been opened. "You did?" "Yes," Jenny continued, her voice steady. "It's not easy, but sometimes we have to reclaim who we are, especially when our loved ones can't see it." She took a breath, setting her sights on Sarah. "And there's more. I might have a proposal you'll want to hear, something that could help both of us." Sarah's heart fluttered with a mix of hope and apprehension. The world around her faded away as she focused on Jenny's intent gaze. What was she getting into? What could it possibly mean for Sarah's journey? As that question loomed large, New possibilities unfolded before her. But was she truly ready to take that leap into the unknown with Jenny's help? The tension of the moment was palpable, and she felt an electric thrill course through her. Before she could respond, her phone buzzed once more. Another message, this time from Mike. Sarah's heart lurched as she glanced at the screen. The message from Mike felt like dark clouds gathering over her already tumultuous day. She hesitated, biting her lip, already feeling dread seep in. What now? Was the first troubled thought that crossed her mind. She could already picture his smirk, followed by the inevitable excuses he always conjured up. Jenny watched her with a quiet intensity, sensing the shift in mood. "You okay?" she asked softly, her voice cutting through the tension that had taken over. "Just my husband," Sarah replied, trying to keep her tone steady. "Do you want to read it?" Jenny's eyes searched for answers, as if willing Sarah to find the strength she felt slipping away. "No," Sarah shook her head, setting the phone down on her lap. "Not right now. I really don't want to deal with more hurt. I came here for clarity, for hope." The air felt thick, each breath harder to take as she felt the weight of her marriage pressing down on her chest. "I miss who I used to be," she admitted, the truth spilling from her in a whisper. Before all the arguments, the doubts. "Hey," Jenny leaned in closer, her voice taking on a reassuring tone. "You're not just a wife or a mother. You are so much more. Remember when we used to dream? What happened to those dreams?" Sarah's gaze drifted to the pond. The water was calm, yet beneath the surface, she sensed a shifting tide. "I don't know. I just lost myself when the kids came, and I thought maybe things would get better. That we'd grow stronger as a family. And we often lose ourselves in the roles we play. But we can't forget our own wants and needs. You deserve more." Jenny's words hung in the air, strong yet gentle. Sarah felt something flicker inside her, a small flame warming the cold shell of doubt she'd wrapped around herself. "How did you do it? Find yourself again?" Jenny took a moment, clearly reflecting. "It wasn't quick or easy. I started taking little steps, setting boundaries, pursuing my passions. I had to prove to myself that I mattered to recover my identity." "I wish I could be that brave," Sarah sighed. "You can be," Jenny countered, her conviction a vibrant thread weaving through their conversation. "Start with that meeting for your jewelry designs. That's a seed of bravery right there. Your kids need to see a mother who believes in herself." Sarah's heart raced again, but this time with the push of possibility. Could she really step into her own light, even with Mike waiting in the background, ready to throw shadows over her dreams? Before she could fully grasp her thoughts, her phone buzzed for a third time, a relentless reminder of reality. It was another message from Mike. Jenny's expression was firm. "You have to decide what matters more, his words or your worth." The intensity of that moment surrounded them, the birds chirping around as though they were holding their breath too. Sarah picked up her phone, its screen glowing like a beacon of confrontation, and glanced at Jenny. "Do I open it?" she whispered, uncertainty creeping back. "Only if you're ready for what's inside," Jenny replied, her voice steady, a lighthouse in a storm. A mix of fear and determination swirled within Sarah. She had let fear dictate her path for too long. "All right," she said, her voice firming with resolve. "I'm ready." As she swiped to open the message, an unsettling mix of anticipation and dread filled the air. What words awaited her behind that screen? Would they drag her under or lift her higher? Whatever the case, something inside her was stirring. A change was coming, and she could feel it. Just as she read the words flicker onto the screen, the world around her faded, her heart pounding in rhythm with the questions swirling in her mind. Would she finally push through the dark? And what would she discover about herself beyond the betrayal? The words on the screen blurred for a moment as Sarah's pulse quickened. She took a deep breath, steadying herself as her gaze anchored on the message from Mike. "I need to talk. Can we meet?" Her heart sank. The casual tone belied the storm of emotions beneath it. Why couldn't he just take responsibility for his actions? Why did he always choose the easy way out? Anger flickered inside her, sizzling under the surface. Jenny leaned closer, her brow furrowing. "What does it say?" "Just, He wants to meet, Sarah replied, her voice shaking slightly. The implications of that one request felt monumental. What does he even want? Closure? An explanation? Jenny offered gently. But you don't owe him anything, Sarah. You've already been through so much. The conflicting emotions teetered like a seesaw in her mind. The pain, the disappointment. Yet, within that turmoil lay a flicker of resolve sparking anew. Maybe I should hear him out. Maybe I need to know how deep this goes. Just remember, Jenny cautioned, her eyes locking onto Sarah's, no matter what he says, it doesn't change your worth. You're stronger than you think. Tears sprang to Sarah's eyes. Her heart ached with a mixture of longing and frustration. For too long, she had allowed herself to be defined by Mike's choices. Today marked a new beginning, whatever that meant. I don't want to keep feeling like this, she confessed, wiping away a stray tear that traced her cheek. I want my life back. Jenny smiled softly, a warmth radiating from her presence. Then fight for it. Talk to him, but do it for yourself. Take back your narrative. Taking a deep breath, Sarah felt the weight of uncertainty shift slightly. The fog was clearing, even if just a little. What if I go and find out he hasn't changed? What if it's more heartbreak? Then you'll know. Knowledge is powerful. But don't let it stop you from making choices for your own happiness. Sarah nodded. I'll do that. The words grounded her. I have to know what I want, and I have to stand up for it. With a newfound sense of purpose, she decided to meet Mike at their usual cafe the next day. The thought sent a shiver of dread down her spine. What if he resorted to manipulating her emotions again? What if he twisted her words, played the martyr? But as the sun began to dip lower in the sky, painting the world in warm hues of orange and pink, Sarah couldn't shake off the sense of anticipation building within her. Something was shifting, and for the first time in ages, it felt like she was steering the ship. What if he tries to guilt-trip me? She voiced aloud, her mind racing. Then you hold your ground, Jenny replied, her voice firm yet supportive. Just remember, you're the one in control. You decide what your story looks like now. As they began packing up, Jenny's words lingered like a guiding compass. Sarah's heart was still pounding, not with despair but with a tentative hope. Maybe this meeting would be the catalyst she needed. The time is now, she told herself, feeling a mix of fear and exhilaration. As she walked to the car, Sarah clutching her purse like a lifeline, she glanced back at the serene pond. Its glassy surface mirrored the shifting colors of the sky, holding secrets of its own. Perhaps she would emerge from this meeting stronger and more resilient, like the water that could cut through stone with patience over time. A sudden thought rushed into her mind. Who would she be when this chapter closed? And how might she define herself alone, beyond the shadows of betrayal? Tomorrow promised answers. But would she be ready for what they revealed? The morning light filtered through Sarah's bedroom window, a warm embrace that felt almost foreign. Sitting on her bed, she fought the urge to hide under the covers instead of facing the day. The clock ticked steadily, counting down to her meeting with Mike. Each second felt heavy with expectation and dread. She stood up, stretching her arms as if to shake off the lingering weight of doubt. The ritual of getting ready became her armor, a swift shower, the scent of her favorite vanilla blossom body wash, her best outfit that hugged her in all the right places. Each small act helped to build her confidence, layer by layer. Before heading out, she caught a glimpse of herself in the mirror. Today was not about being the girl who was wronged. It was about standing tall, taking back her narrative. Her resolve solidified as her makeup accented her determination, and she whispered to her reflection. You've got this, Sarah. When she arrived at the cafe, familiar yet foreboding, she felt a pit of nerves in her stomach. The aroma of coffee wafted through the air, mingling with the sound of casual conversations that formed a backdrop to her thoughts. She spotted Mike sitting at their usual table, his back to her. For a moment, she hesitated. Memories washed over her, the laughter, the whispers, those promises made over steaming cups of coffee. But they felt tainted now. Taking a deep breath, she approached, her footsteps firm against the wooden floor. As his gaze met hers, she saw a flicker of something in his eyes, surprise, remorse, maybe even vulnerability. Yet it didn't sway her. Hi, she said, keeping her voice steady. "Hey," he replied, his tone masked with uncertainty. There was an awkward pause, and he looked away, casting a glance that suggested he was measuring his words carefully. "Thanks for meeting me," he added, his hands fidgeting with the edge of the table. A knot tightened in her stomach. "You wanted to talk. So, let us get to it." The directness startled him. He shifted in his seat, searching for the right approach. "I know things have been difficult between us, and I want to explain." "I don't need explanations," she interrupted firmly, surprising even herself. "I want to know what you want now. I need to know why you've come back." A moment of silence stretched between them, heavy with unspoken words. She could see the conflict swirling in his eyes, kicking up memories of their shared past that fought to surface. But she stood her ground, resolute. "I miss you," he finally admitted. His confession hung in the air, a whisper of vulnerability that prickled at her heart. "But no, not today. You miss what we had, or do you miss me?" Mike glanced down, his shoulders slumping slightly. "Maybe both. But I realize how much I hurt you. I messed up." His admission hit her like a physical blow. There had been a time when she yearned to hear those words, but now they felt insufficient. "But guess what, Mike? I'm not that girl anymore. I want to be defined by your mistakes." She watched as a flicker of pain crossed his features. The balance of power was shifting in this conversation. For the first time, she could see her own worth reflected back in a way she hadn't before. "What will it take for us to start over?" he asked, almost pleading. Taking a moment to absorb his words, she realized there wouldn't be a clean slate. "Not now. I've spent so long waiting for you to change. I want to do it anymore." His face fell, confusion clouding his eyes. What if I have changed? What if I want to be better? A rush of uncertainty flooded her. What if he had? But the fear of falling back into old patterns held her strong. "I need to believe in myself first. That's my priority. Not you. Not us." An unexpected calm settled over her as she articulated her truth. It felt liberating. Just then, his phone buzzed on the table, breaking the moment. The sound jolted them both, serving as an abrupt reminder of the world outside their fragile bubble. Sarah's heart raced as she saw his eyes dart towards it, wondering if it would somehow disrupt what they were doing. "What? That?" she asked, curious yet wary. Mike hesitated before reaching for it, a flicker of panic in his expression. "Just work," he said too quickly. But she felt a shift, the air itself charged with so much unspoken emotion. As he put the phone down, Sarah's breath caught in her throat. Just what was he hiding? And would facing his truth mean confronting her own? Suddenly, she realized the answers she sought weren't just about Mike. They were about her too. What if the real challenge was just beginning? With determination bubbling within, she leaned forward, ready to peel back the layers hiding the truth. The moment lingered, the air thick with tension as Sarah leaned forward, her heartbeat echoing loudly in her ears. Mike was rigid, his expression a mix of worry and anticipation. She had danced around the truth for too long, and now it was time to dive into the depths that scared her the most. "What are you hiding?" she asked softly yet firmly, her eyes locked on his. The question hung between them, a fragile thread, begging to be pulled. "I told you, it's nothing. Just work," he responded, his voice shaky, betraying his attempt to project calm. She knew better than to take his words at face value. Trust had been twisted between them, and the foundation they once stood on now felt like quicksand. "Come on, Mike. If it's nothing, why so secretive?" His jaw clenched, and for a moment, she wondered what battles he was fighting inside. She could almost see the gears turning in his mind as he weighed the options of revealing more or keeping her at arm's length. Finally, he sighed, pushing the phone away, as if it were a burden. I didn't want to be distracted. I wanted to focus on us." "Us?" The word escaped her lips, a mix of disbelief and pain. "You think we can just pick up where we left off? Like it's all okay?" He looked down, his fists clenching on the table. "No, I don't think that. I know it's not. I messed up and I'm sorry. But I want to make things right. I want to have real conversations, not just pretend everything is fine." His sincerity was raw, but doubt crept in. How could she trust him again? The scars of betrayal were still fresh, gnawing at her resolve. What if the truth is that I'm not ready? What if what we had is broken beyond repair? Maybe his voice trailed off and he met her gaze. But don't you want to try? Don't you want to see if we can be something more than just who we were? She felt a shift inside her, the desire to fight against the past warring with a glimmer of hope. I don't want to go back, Mike. I want to move forward. If you're serious, then show me how you've changed. I need actions, not words. His face brightened slightly at her challenge. Okay, let us start. What is something you want to know? Ask me anything. Sarah hesitated, considering the weight of her question. Why did you hurt me? Was it worth it? He winced at her words, but didn't shy away. I was scared. Scared of commitment, scared of losing myself. It's no excuse, but I thought running away would make everything easier. But I was wrong. I hurt you and I regret it every day. The vulnerability in his voice softened her anger, just enough for a flicker of curiosity to spark. And now? Are you still scared? To her surprise, he smiled, a flicker of warmth in the tense atmosphere. Not as much. I want to face what I ran from. I want to face you. His honesty struck a chord within her. Maybe, just maybe, there was a chance for growth between them. But it came with so many uncertainties. Fear prickled her skin, but in that fear, she recognized something powerful: her own resilience. As she gathered her thoughts, the cafe around them faded into a blur. It was just the two of them, battling their past and the inkling of a future. I need to know one thing before we go any further, she said, her voice steady. Are you willing to share everything? No more secrets? He nodded, sincerity etched across his features. For you, yes. No more hiding. In that moment, a rush of hope surged through her. But a new concern bubbled to the surface. Then tell me, what was it really on that phone? The silence felt electric, a new weight settling in the space between them. What lay behind his guarded demeanor? What truths were lurking that could shake this fragile foundation? For the first time, she felt empowered to ask not just about him, but about herself. And as she waited for his answer, she realized this conversation wasn't just about reconciliation. It was a chance for both to rebuild a delicate dance between vulnerability and strength. Would he be willing to share everything? Or would old habits creep back, threatening to tear apart their fragile connection? The tension in the air crackled like static as Sarah waited for Mike's response. Her heart raced, thoughts churning like a storm in her mind. What would he say? She braced herself for the truth, ready to confront whatever lay behind the walls he'd built around himself. Finally, he took a deep breath, his face a cascade of emotions: fear, regret, hope. I had an affair, he confessed, the words spilling from him like a dam breaking. It was a stupid mistake. I thought I could escape my problems. I never wanted to hurt you, but I was selfish. The confession hit Sarah like a freight train, ripping through the fragile resolve she had built. She had suspected, whispers of deceit echoing in her mind, but hearing it aloud shattered her world anew. The pain cut deep, sharp and unforgiving. You thought that was the answer? Her voice trembled, both hurt and angry. You thought running away would fix us? He looked down, tears brimming in his eyes. I was scared, Sarah. I didn't know how to face my own demons. I thought I could find relief in someone else, but it only left me feeling emptier. I see that now. She felt the weight of his words wrap around her, pulling at her heart. It was easy to feel hate in moments like this, but here, with this raw honesty, she caught a glimpse of the man she had fallen in love with, lost, but trying to return. How do I know I can trust you again? She asked softly, allowing vulnerability to creep into her resolve. He met her gaze, determination lingering in his expression. You don't. Trust takes time, but I'm willing to do whatever it takes to earn it back. I'm working on myself. Therapy. I know it's going to be a long road, but I'm committed. I want to be a better husband and a better father. Sarah's heart beat in a new rhythm, torn between pain and a flicker of hope. Part of her wanted to walk away, to preserve the pieces of her heart. But another part, the part that had begun to reclaim itself, was drawn to the possibility of healing. But what if you fall back into old patterns? She probed. How do I know that I'm not just setting myself up for more heartbreak? He leaned closer, urgency filling his voice. Then I'll show you every day. My actions will speak louder than my words. I know I'm not perfect, but I refuse to let fear dictate my life anymore. I want you back, Sarah. The moment hung between them, heavy with the weight of their shared history. She recognized the flicker of sincerity in his eyes, a glimmer of the man who had fallen in love with her. And yet, trust wasn't something she'd just hand over. I need to put my happiness first, too. I can't return to the shadows, Mike. I'm willing to explore this, but it has to be on my terms, she expressed, her voice steady as she reclaimed her narrative. I'll do that, he affirmed, relief washing over his features. I will support you in your journey, no matter where it leads. Because you deserve to shine, with or without me. His words seeped into her heart, filling the cracks of doubt with newfound strength and clarity. She could feel the remnants of hope pulsing within her, slowly nudging her towards a new understanding. I need time, Sarah stated finally, sensing the complexity of the road ahead. We both need to heal. If that means we start fresh, then we do just that. But I won't hesitate to walk away if I sense deceit again. Agreed, he replied, a nod affirming their pact. As they finished their conversation, the clouds outside began to fade, sunbeams shimmering through windows to wash the cafe in a warm glow. It felt like a new beginning, one they could build together if they chose. I'll check in on you and the kids, he added. A hint of hope sparkled in his voice. She smiled softly, allowing warmth to spread through her. And I'll share my journey with you. But we'll need to redefine what our relationship looks like. Standing up, they shared a hesitant embrace, feeling life's weight shift between them. It was an unwritten chapter, one filled with uncertainty, dreams, and the whispers of new beginnings. And as they stepped out of the cafe into the day's golden light, Sarah felt the renewed air fill her lungs, fueled by the possibility of redemption. Life would be different now. They would take it one step at a time, be imperfectly human together, and rise like the radiant reflections on Maplewood's surface. The road ahead would be challenging, but Sarah already felt that undeniable strength igniting within her. She had reclaimed her voice, and now it was time to share her story with the world, to embrace the journey towards healing. This was just the beginning, but it was a beginning she was ready for. So, here's what you need to do. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive stories. This is your moment to show support. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm, every bit helps. Comment below with your reactions and feelings about the ending. We want to hear your story. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. You need to be the spark of hope today. Don't wait not even one more second to share. True fans understand the importance of supporting the channel through these actions.